I'm Tom Anichini, Chief Investment Strategist at GuidedChoice. I'm a CFA charter holder and a CFP certificate, and this is Trekking Through Retirement. How much can I spend in retirement? You want a quantity to spend to ensure comfort, and you want a quantity that's sustainable for you and for your household situation. I'm going to talk about a traditional static strategy versus a dynamic one and how we advise retirees at GuidedChoice. I'm going to talk about our retiree spending tool, which we call SpendDown. The concept is that you don't need a plan at the beginning of retirement to follow like it's some farmer's almanac for the rest of your life. What you need is a spending plan every year, and possibly more frequently as things change. It's adaptable. The plan will adjust to changes in market conditions, changes in your personal life, changes to your situation. At the very least, the annual plan will encompass an annual review to reevaluate and adjust, especially as your appetites and priorities change. And it offers a benefit over a static spending rule that I promise I'm going to come to in a few minutes. The tool asks you to articulate a want and a need. The need level of spending is what you will absolutely need to maintain your quality of living for housing, transportation, food, etc. And a want is more aspirational. Would you like to travel? Would you like to give gifts to people or institutions? And the spending tool will evaluate spending levels between your need and your want across thousands of possible future paths of changes in inflation rates, interest rates, bond yields, and asset returns across years beyond your life expectancy. So it's taking into account longevity risk. And the idea of simulating this way, it's called Monte Carlo simulation. You can think of it as, in a sci-fi kind of way, as multiverses of the future. There are possible different paths the future can take, starting from a single point, which is now. And so you can make decisions, even though we don't know what the future will be. You can test a spending level to ensure that it's likely to succeed no matter what is likely to unfold in the future. You can be confident that what you're spending this year is responsible and sustainable. Then you come back in a year and do it again. It doesn't just look at your 401k balance and ask how much can you spend. It looks at all your sources of income. So it looks at your Social Security retirement benefits, whether you've taken them yet or not, your spouse's if you have a spouse, any pension, any annuity income, any rental income, any part-time work that you plan to take or are thinking about taking, all your sources of wealth as well, whether they were tax deferred or in taxable accounts. So we're trying to maximize all sources, all income sources. The tool also allows you to model possible annuities. A lot of retirees like the psychological benefit of knowing they have a check coming in for the rest of their life, no matter what happens to their assets. This tool will allow you to evaluate whether that makes sense for you. What we really want to make sure is that every year you're reconsidering what you need to spend for your absolute necessities, and you're considering aspirations, and the Monte Carlo simulations will tell you each year whether there's a level in between those or whether you can spend at your aspirational level. So it's a flexible framework that allows for the levels to change every year. Now, remember, I said a few minutes ago that there's a traditional static level of spending that has been known about for about 30 years. It's called the 4% rule. And the 4% rule is simply that when you retire, you take 4% of your wealth and plan to spend that dollar amount in inflation-adjusted terms for the rest of your life. With the idea being that, sure, if you divide your wealth by 4%, you'll get 25, but you'll get some investment returns along the way, maybe above inflation. So it ought to last you some 25 to 30 years. That plan, however, overlooks volatility and it overlooks individual variability. So you might want to spend a lot more in the early years. There are a lot of studies that show that retirees spend more in the early years than they do later on. And it's not because they spent too much and now they don't have enough. It's probably because they get tired of all the travel and they prefer just to have a simpler life as they grow older. SpendDown allows you the flexibility to say, in addition to my spending level for the next 4 years, I'm also going to spend an additional $5,000 or $10,000 or whatever the travel budget is going to be. And so you can plan that sort of thing. The 4% rule won't give you advice. It's just a rule. In terms of adapting to changes, I mentioned that SpendDown is a tool that's meant for annual reassessment. Those Monte Carlo simulations aren't predictions about the future, and the answer doesn't tell you this is your 30-year roadmap. No, that's the proof statement that says the spending level that you want to take for this year is responsible given what we know is probably in the range of possibilities for the next several decades. And the flexibility allows for changes in your circumstances. So if you have a change in health, or if your spouse does, all of a sudden your living costs change or your travel needs change, well, you can model that. You can come back and change your spending plan and make adjustments if necessary. So let me give you some takeaways. The SpendDown tool offers you a unique blend. It's flexible, its advice is personalized, and it's adaptable. And so you can balance security with the knowledge that as your experience changes, your plans can update with your changes. So SpendDown is more than a tool. It's a partner.